Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much, colleagues from the press. We want to appreciate your coming. We also want to appreciate your indulgence in our delay in starting this press conference. What is important for us is to just indicate that we are meeting at a very crucial point in time when we've just concluded our Special National Council, which was sitting to complete and conclude the business of Congress. As you are aware, we've just concluded our 5th Party Congress, which was very successful Congress by all standards, which was also very, very significant in turning the direction of the party. You know that our theme in this Congress was defining a new course for a new Zimbabwe. Indeed, we are defining a new course for Zimbabwe, and defining a new course entails building a team that is able to deliver the victory that we want to see in place. I must say that in terms of our team, we've managed to come up with an A team, a team that is going to make significant changes on the political landscape. I'm very confident of the team that has come out of the Congress. It is a strong team, a team of diverse talents. Of course, you must know that wherever there's an election, there's a dejection. Wherever there's an appointment, there are disappointments. That is the nature of democracy. But the beauty is that we are one team, one united team, ready to deliver change and ready to be different in many respects. Yes, I must also indicate the fact that in terms of our trajectory and direction we are taking, the structure we are coming up with is a structure that is in the Congress, defined processes. First, there's what is called the Standing Committee, as you may know. The Standing Committee is directly elected from Congress, plus the other special operational portfolio secretaries that are supposed to do work on a daily basis. That Standing Committee is going to be meeting bi-weekly every Wednesday, as has been the tradition. But below it, of course, which is a higher organ, is the National Executive, which is the portfolio secretaries that have to superintend the executing mandate involved of our party going forward. As you may know, this is the equivalent of in other political parties, politburos. Ours is called the National Executive Committee because it does the execution of the resolutions administratively and also functionally. Then, of course, below the executive, we have the National Council, which is the supreme decision-making body between Congresses. This one is the bigger body. It is close to about over 300, 400, because it has power to then make key policy decisions, which policy decisions are very important. So let me just start by indicating to you that yes, as a party, we are a party of Democrats, and democracy is about multiple and different opinions. I know that gadgets can be very stubborn. It's not his fault. It's gadgets. They are very stubborn. They can also report you when you are trying to hide certain things. So it's not his fault. I'm sure he managed to sort things out there. Yes, I was just indicating that our party is a part of democracy, and democracy is about multiple and different opinions being entertained for purposes of building a coherent and cohesive movement. It is about bringing people together, and it is about forming a network of cooperation such as ours. It is about striking a balance between public opinion and competence. It is also about striking a balance between loyalty to the struggle, to the cause, and to the party, and of course skills and competence that are required. It is not mob rule. It is indeed the rule of merit. Meritocracy is our core basis in defining who is going to be deployed where and who is going to play which role. So competence is very important. We have managed to make sure that we have the best hands and the biggest mind together to build a great nation. There is no better team than the MDC team. At the moment, we feel that we are the only credible team in the country, the only game in town to deliver change for the people of Zimbabwe. Our message is that we are there and we're ready to lead and ready to bring people to the much cherished new beginning in the best interest, not just of the party, the people, but also in the best interest of the region. We are building a party that is going to win any future elections. We honor the work that was done by Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, our predecessor, and we know that by standing on the shoulders of this great giant, we are able to see far and further, and our vision is going to be very clear in terms of what we have to do to move this party forward. Yes, we know that he established the foundation, he put in place structures, but we are also going to put the ornaments and the aesthetics to make sure that this great party is a part of excellence in all facets. Our party structures are going to be made more efficient and more effective in what we are going to be doing. That's why the Office of the Secretary General is going to be doing a lot of work in making sure that we implement the thematic decisions around revamping the party at an administrative level, but also institutional renewal, making sure that we have voices for causes, people who are competent for the tasks that are supposed to be done. This party is unrivaled in terms of its capabilities, its human resources competence, and of course its structural resources, particularly through the changes that I'm going to articulate just in a bit. Yes, you are aware that in this country we have serious problems politically. You are aware that the major challenge that we now face as a people is that citizens are no longer secure locally, or even those who are abroad, being in the diaspora. This is because of the arrests that we have seen, attacks on the opposition leadership, attacks on the civic society, attacks on the trade union leaders, attacks on all political opinions, perceived or real. For this, we obviously are going to be very clear in terms of our engagement of the region, the continent, in terms of what has to be done to resolve the political crisis we have in this country. We are not satisfied with the human rights situation in the country. We are not happy with the reform path the country is on. It is based on fiction, fake reforms, piecemeal reforms that are not attending to the real issues. In terms of the economy, you are aware that most of the Zimbabweans are suffering. We are going through a very difficult period in terms of our situation from a social perspective, from an economic perspective. I was just going through a World Bank report that indicated that we are going to have a negative growth just this year. But not only that, I mean, you look at our debt to GDP ratio, which is very, very embarrassing, almost worrisome, including our investment ratios, savings ratios below 1% and negative 1%. And when you juxtapose with countries like Ghana, which just registered 8.8 growth on the African continent, you then see that ours is a very serious economic situation. Look at the erosion of the salaries, not just of civil servants, but ordinary people. Look at the shortages of literally everything. There is shortage of everything. The next thing that is going to be in short supply is obviously our oxygen. But yes, we are in trouble. There is no fuel, there is no energy, there is no power, there is no money. And this is being catalyzed by hyperinflationary tendencies by this ED administration. If you look at the increases in the taxes, lack of confidence in the market, this is all necessitated by what we would call a pro-cyclical monetary approach, and this has its own ways in terms of the macroeconomic policy that we have. In Ghana, you find that taxes are being reduced, but in our situation, taxes are actually being increased, especially for the poor. And you find that the government itself can no longer control the economy. In fact, the economy is now being controlled by a new government called inflation. Government itself is no longer in control. They are also being controlled by that government called inflation. And this is a problem that has to be resolved. We have answers to this. We have put a raft of measures through our smart economic policies. What we have said is the best approach to resolve these issues. We've also realized that in terms of our circumstances, when it comes to peace and security in the country, the situation is even sliding into dire circumstances. There's a dark cloud hanging over the country in terms of the tensions, the stalemate, and the political the discussions that are supposed to be done. We've always indicated that we have pledged that we need peace, we need change in Zimbabwe, but that only comes as a result of our ability to work together through managing political dialogue to resolve the fundamental issues. And I'll revert to that one in a jiff again, just to give you the way forward. Now, in the context of that, we then had our National Council. The National Council made the necessary appointments that are supposed to be made, and I will make the necessary announcements, particularly the first one being the announcements to do with the changes we are making to the MDC as a party. We made the point that we are turning a corner as a party, so there are a number of far-reaching changes that we are implementing, resolutions that were made by the Congress, but were being given effect in terms of the direction that the party is making. The first one is the issue to do with the Constitution. Yes, we've said in terms of the Constitution of the MDC, we are beginning to implement something that had been absent or removed, the issue of term limits. We must introduce term limits for all key positions in the party. Leaders must be able to lead and lead. Leaders must not lead and lead and lead and remain leading. We must allow leaders to come and go. And that is the culture we are beginning to implement in the party, starting with our constitutional provisions to change, to make sure that we align it to that requirement. This will also cascade to members of parliament and councillors. People must be able to say and live. Nobody is supposed to be there for life. We must all be able to say, you do your best and you live. That's what democracy is all about. So that's the first fundamental change that's going to be implemented. The second one is the changing of the MDC from a top-down political party in terms of structures. We are strengthening our grassroots structures to make the party more effective in elections by making sure that we strengthen branches. So instead of having strong wards and districts, we're going to have strong branches. Every polling station has to be a branch for the MDC. And all leaders are going to be deployed. Even if you are to be a president, you must be deployed from a branch. If you are to be an MP, you must be elected at a branch. If you are to be a councillor, you are elected at a branch. If you are to be promoted to be a minister, very soon when we then appoint our cabinet in a new government, you have to come from a branch. The branch chairperson has to give a recommendation to say you are in good standing if you are coming from the political party structures, unless if you are coming from the technocratic side or those who are experts or who have particular skill. The party is also going to revert to a single vice president as opposed to 3 vice presidents. There's no need for us to have 3 vice presidents. We need 1 vice president. That will also kick in at the next Congress. We have also introduced key reforms around honoring and respecting our liberation struggle veterans, our freedom fighters. So there's going to be a representation of what is called the Freedom Fighters Council, who are Liberation War hero, comrades. I wish Comrade Matema Danda would also appreciate that his position is there. He should not belong to a political party like ZANU-PF. If he is to be complete as a Liberation War hero, they must be in all parties because they are non-partisan. So we want them to be represented, and we have a slot for them in the National Executive, also chosen by war veterans themselves. So we're going to deepen our representation of Liberation War heroes so that they also have an articulation of their interests. We are also broadening to have the Disability Council, people living with their disability are going to be represented, so that council is also going to be there as an addition. We've introduced the chaplains, basically a spiritual superintendent who deals with our issues, especially counseling. After elections, people get disappointed, they need counseling in-house. They must be prayed for so that they are able to heal. If there's violence in the country, there has to be healing those who are sick, and this is a party development. I know that in the ANC they have this at national level and the provincial level. It's also an introduction that we put in place. I must also add that we are going to be introducing a very important organ, which is the independent electoral body within the party that runs elections at all levels. We are no longer going to have elections being supervised or run internally. They will be run by an independent electoral board whose mandate and function has been clearly articulated. Apart from that, we are also going to introduce the issue of a cabinet. Ours is not a shadow cabinet, but an alternative cabinet, because we believe and we know that the one that is there is not the real cabinet. If it was a real cabinet, we would have a shadow cabinet, but we don't have a real cabinet because of legitimacy issues. So we are going to have an alternative cabinet, which is a very mean and lean cabinet. What we have done at National Council level is portfolio secretary for the party. I've seen the confusion in the media that this is the cabinet. This is not the cabinet. The cabinet is going to come at the appropriate moment very soon. What we have had are portfolio secretaries who are the key leaders who run the various functions and portfolios. Yes, the Congress did a lot of work around the trajectory to deal with the problems. We are going to introduce a new document called Reload, which is the Return to Legitimacy and Democracy document. This document is going to come very soon. It has already been completed. It articulates the roadmap to the restoration of democracy. I'll articulate to you and underscore what the various stages are as we go to a new Zimbabwe and as we run the issue of coming to a new Zimbabwe. We are going to launch this document, in a few weeks' time, we should be launching this document. But just to indicate to you that for us, the resolution of the crisis in Zimbabwe is based on 5 stages and 5 steps. The first one, there has to be political pressure and diplomatic pressure to bring to bear Mr. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF to understand the importance of locating exit points to the crisis we are facing. Upon having that dialogue, we need that pressure. We need to have the second step, which is dialogue. And that dialogue, we've said, it has to be inclusive. That dialogue has to be credible, and there must be an independent, credible convener. Not this situation where you have monologue, people who are in agreement, coming together to say they are dialoguing. They are not dialogue. It's a choir, and the President Mnangagwa wants to be the choir master. No, we don't need a choir. We need dialogue, and that dialogue has to be between ourselves and ZANU-PF to begin with. Then, of course, invite others who may need to be there. The third issue is to have now a transitional mechanism, which is to then superintend on the process of transitioning our country. We've had failed transitions in this country. 1980 was a failed transition, 87 Unit Accord, failed transition, GNU, failed transition. We need a successful transition to democracy and to legitimacy, strengthening the institutions of governance in this country. That is only possible if we and when we deal with the issue of a transitional mechanism. The fourth issue is a comprehensive reform agenda, which has to do with electoral reforms, political reforms, constitutional reforms, economic reforms. This whole thing of Mr. Mnangagwa thinking that he can just go to parliament, railroad his own views as a reform. That's not adequate. We are going to have proper, inclusive, nationally driven reforms, not these Mickey Mouse games that they are playing in parliament. We want to agree on what should be the content, substance, and nature, character of the reforms that are going to be implemented. At this moment, MOPA, POSA, whatever they call it, is inadequate. And it's all being motivated by a partisan approach. Even the electoral reforms, they are not adequate. We want the deep reforms that respect what the international observer missions say in terms of the NDIRI, Commonwealth, EU, SADC, AU. That must all be the basis of those reforms. So that comprehensive reform agenda is very important. Last but not least is then paving way for proper elections, free and fair elections that are credible. Without this ZEC, clearly the current ZEC is not fit for purpose. They have failed to do what has to be done in terms of running elections in this country. and they can't be able to superintend over elections. They are a referee who chooses to throw away the whistle and join the other team, and for that reason, they are not competent to execute the mandate. So those are the stages that we want to see being put in place. Now, in the context of that, we must strengthen our party, and for our party to be strong, we need to make sure that we make certain key appointments which were made by the National Council. The first one is the independent tribunal. As you may know, in the constitution of the MDC, once there is a problem of a National Standing Committee member who is stubborn or who is delinquent, they are supposed to be dealt with through what is called an independent tribunal, like what we did with Madam Coupe and other such people. That body has to have 3 people who are legal practitioners, 1 qualified to be a judge. So the appointments that were made by the National Council in terms of Article 12.1 are as follows: Harrison Gomo to chair, Advocate Mabwe, and Advocate Esmpo. It's not Timbo, it's Esmpo. So you must be very clear there. To be in the independent body. These are all lawyers. There's also the appointment of auditors. In terms of the Constitution, we must have our books audited, and we have to do things in a better fashion, not to be like ZANU-PF. We've never heard that they audited their books. So yes, we appointed our auditors, and there are 3 audit firms that have been nominated. I will not mention them, but it's very important for you to note that that has been done. Then there's also the appointment of the Appeals Tribunal. Now, if you have any queries or concerns, because we've also introduced in the party constitution the fact that nobody is allowed to take the party to court until we have exhausted domestic remedy. You still have your constitutional rights, your political rights in terms of the constitution to go to court. But if you take the party to court without exhausting domestic remedies, we take issue with you and we will expel you. So we've created, and it has always been there, but we're strengthening the Appeals Tribunal to be there as a domestic remedy platform or mechanism for those who may have complaints, grievances, or even dispute around interpretation of the Constitution. This one is going to be chaired by Chris Miguel, and members of that include Alec Mchariahama, Dorothy Pasquanojga, Obey Shawa, Regina Mabwe, Nyasha Timba, Godfrey Nyon, and James Nyamuda. These are members of the Appeals Tribunal. We've also made appointments, which is the last of my address to you. We've made appointments to the Standing Committee and also the National Executive in terms of what is required by the Constitution. You know that we had our Secretary General elected, Comrade Charlton Wende, so he's going to be deputized by very competent people. In fact, I didn't see the Deputy Secretary General. Okay. Oh, she's there. Because there are 2 offices that we are specifically going to strengthen: the organizing office and the administration office. We've said these 2 offices are so key that we are going to put 2 deputies for each. So in the office of the Secretary General, there's going to be 2 deputies. One, Honorable Consilia Chinanzawana, one of our very long-standing members from Mashonaland West. She's a member of Parliament. She's going to be the Deputy Secretary, together with Jameson Timber, who is also one of our key members, a competent administrator, to help our Secretary General in terms of making sure that we revolutionize our offices. As you can see, Harvest House is going to be a different building very soon. We don't want you to come to Harvest House and not have coffee and tea. We want you to come and also be taken to the boardroom, not the bedroom, of the president, so that you can also enjoy as journalists. So yes, we are sprucing up the image of our building, but also even our structural systems. Cards have to be electronic. A raft of measures are going to be introduced to make sure that we change our administration. Then, in terms of treasury, you know that Jeff Cole, that is the treasurer, is going to be deputized. On this one, is going to be deputized by a woman who is a senator, Senator Lillian Timbios Akropo, is going to be deputizing Jeff Calder. Why are we doing this? We are making sure that we are gender sensitive. In fact, all our deployments, we don't just pay lip service to gender issues. We have to make sure that things are done in a proper manner and function. We have organizing secretary, Amos Kibaya, who is our national organizing secretary. We have the two deputies for Comrade Chibaya, Ekmo Chidziwa, and Huda Masara. Then, of course, our spokesperson, we have a new spokesperson who is an MP by the name Daniel Molokele, deputized by Comrade Luke Bentelisi. It must not be it doesn't mean that when you I'm not yeah, but I think you have not been appropriately oriented. You must even if you are expecting information, you don't stay. The Secretary for Elections, Councillor Jacob Mafume, he was our spokesperson, is now going to be working on the core business of the party, which is elections. So it's going to be the head, deputized by Helen Shiriedenga. Then there's a key function on planning and strategy, which is under the presidential affairs. It's going to be headed by Senator Morgan Committee, and also deputized by Honorable Risi Zuzai. Secretary for Policy and Research, Honorable Tapiwa Mashakada, deputized by Honorable Miriam Shai. Secretary for International Relations, yes, a young lady, Dr. Gladys Satswai, is going to be head that one. Deputized by none other than our former Secretary General, Honorable Douglas Togarase Gonzora. Now, I heard a lot of people saying, you know, Gonzora has been demoted. We had the election, and there was an outcome to that election. What we have done is to say, Comrade Gonzora has to continue to be safe, particularly in the leadership of the party, which is something that is not common in political parties. Like ZANU-PF and other such vindictive parties. For us, we believe that we have to work together, and we must be able to unite people going forward. So, yes, Comrade Gonzora is going to serve there. Engineer Elias Mzuri, Secretary for Local Government, his experience and expertise in local government is very key and valuable for us to make sure that we are delivering on the smart agenda. As you know, we can't afford just to criticize ZANU-PF and to be anti-ZANU-PF. People have to vote for us and believe in us for what we stand for. So we must turn cities and towns into centers of excellence, and that role is going to be carried out by Engineer Mzuri, deputized by Clifford Satiwan. We also have other various portfolio secretaries. I don't think I need to go through all of them, because I will really spend a lot of your time on the salary, but key ones, Cecil Design Center for Projects Livelihoods, because we are now focusing into the rural areas. We are no longer just going to be talking change. We must deliver change. Ensure that in the rural areas, our rural strategy, we're already doing projects, we're already helping people, because we are serious government, more serious than the one that is outgoing. So we have to show that, yes, in everything we do, we are emphasizing our seriousness. You know, some of the appointments we have met are people like, Fadzaima here. Now, a lot of people I've seen a lot of things flying around. Fadzaima here decided to join the party some time ago after our discussions, because we are also reaching out to young Zimbabweans who are able to contribute. Ours is a broad tent. Ours is an inclusive tent. So we want to make sure that whoever has talent, let them come on board. Experts, activists, trade union leaders, they have to be part of what we believe to be the big bus and revolutionary train to a new Zimbabwe. So we're happy that Comrade Mahere, advocate, is now part of us, and she's going to be heading the Sector for Education, Sports, Arts and Culture portfolio. We have Ras Makam, our MP, being in charge of lands and agriculture. Comrade Ngewani, the former president of ZCTU, is going to be in charge of cadreship development and training, because our emphasis is going to be, leadership development, deploying our people to competence, and building our capacities. We also have intelligence. We don't want witnesses in the party. We want intelligence. We must know what our opponents are planning before they plan anything. So yes, Comrade Machingauda is going to be in charge of that. Mr. Emmanuel Chimwanda, former assistant inspector, is going to be in charge of defense and security. We've been working with him for a long time. He was a police commissioner, assistant police commissioner, not a police commissioner, yes. He's now going to be heading our defense and security. We have all other names: Maragole Sekuma, legal affairs, Brian Dure, deputizing. I could go on and on, but suffice to say, these are the lists, and we now have a full complement for our national executive. The committee members from various provinces, we are going to make the announcement, put it out for purposes of those who may want to see, those who are from provinces, so we're going to put it on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I was trying to shorten a very long presentation this morning, and again, our apologies. We've been hit by bereavement after bereavement. We lost Mr. Msungu, our former MP for Norton constituency, who's going to be buried in Manukale. So we've deployed other leaders to go there, and accompany the family. We just have to pay our respects to the comrade. So yes, thank you very much, leadership. I think that does it for what we have, unless if there are any questions, clarifications, or additions from you, our colleagues. But thank you very much for coming, and God bless you.
Yes, questions? Okay,
President, you mentioned about the Freedom Fighters Council. Because maybe we want to know who is in the Freedom Fighters Council or who chairs the council.
Well, I've deliberately left it out because our respectable and honorable war veterans have requested to also have their own meeting across the whole country. Mind you, these are going to be representing our war veterans, so they need to have their own meeting to consult on who is going to be the representative. So we sought the condonation of the National Council to say when the names are provided, will then avail. But the war veterans are going to be having their structures right up to the lowest level, the village level, to defend the movement. I'm sure you saw in the Congress what they said about their disposition and understanding. And I just want to also emphasize that you can see that as a party, we've been emphasizing our Pan-African flag and our liberation roots. This is why our focus is on making sure that we honor the liberation, fighters as our tribute to the liberation struggle. Because our struggle is built on the basis and foundation of the liberation struggle, ideals. Some of them which were hijacked, and also a lot of them are disappointed because ZANU-PF is no longer the revolutionary vehicle. The new revolutionary vehicle in this country is the MDC. We represent the aspirations and ideals of the leaders of the liberation struggle. So we want to honor them in a special way because our government is going to prioritize their welfare. Our government is going to prioritize their well-being. Most of them are still struggling with their pensions, struggling with their education, medical facilities, and this is not the way you treat your heroes. Look at America, look at Vietnam, look at South Africa. Let's give decency to our war veterans. Let's honor them. And the best way to honor them is not just recognition in terms of pride of place, but also just acknowledging their necessities for purposes of life.
Yes.
Yes,
The MDC expanded its standing committee. Can you just have the specs on the expansion? Are all the portfolio secretaries going to be in the standing committee, or what is the effect of the expansion of the standing committee?
Thank you. Just to emphasize that the standing committee was not expanded. That's not appropriate terminology or jargon. The standing committee is still as it was. The standing committee is defined from time to time by the National Congress. And as far as we are concerned, we still retain those who are sitting in the standing committee. But we're going to be inviting those who have operational functions like diplomacy and international relations. Because local government, we have 28 mayors out of the 32, we want to know what's happening almost on a weekly basis. So they will be invited to then also come and contribute because they are key functions together with policy and research. All the other portfolio secretaries are in the National Executive, which is the executing body. And it is members, it used to be 88, I'm sure it will be in those numbers. We're there to look at the figures, looking at the representatives that come from the various other organs, like the Guardian Council, which is also a very important body, by the way. In fact, I was supposed to also announce the Guardian Council, and thanks, bless you, for asking me about the standing committee. I'll give you a bonus because of that question. Yes, that one is already, they will send it, isn't like the freedom fighters. Okay, so just also to indicate that we have the Guardian Council, mostly members of the party who are 55 years and above, who are able to give the president wise counsel. The president is young, he needs gray-haired people who have this gray matter. So Beke Spanda of Mat South is going to be chairing the Guardian Council. And the secretary is going to be Mungofa. And of course, those members are also provided for by the provinces. So we'll have that Guardian Council. It gives wisdom, it engages traditional leaders for purposes of moving forward our agenda. So the standing committee has not been expanded, but the standing committee has been strengthened. So we've strengthened the standing committee to make sure that we deliver in terms of our goal. You can see that we also strengthened the office of the Secretary General and also the office of organizing, because we mean serious business. The task at hand is so big. Zimbabweans want an answer from us, and we have to provide that answer in terms of leadership. That's why we've said, now that the Congress is gone, we've closed and shut the doors of Congress. The next focus now is to provide leadership to the people of Zimbabwe, to liberate ourselves, but also to bring freedom to this country.
Yes.
In the Morgan Changirai Memorial in Manikwa, you spoke on 3 vice presidents, saying there was nothing amiss with the structure.
Sure.
What has inspired the change of approach?
Well, the change of our approach is not necessarily to do with the structure being out of place, but it is just to make sure that we are also strengthening certain offices, especially the issue of our original founding values was predicated on one vice president. We just thought that we needed to go back to that, and there was wisdom in that, and we always review and assess. This one is on a trial basis to see how it's going to function. With 3 vice presidents, I want to see how tenable that structure is. You know that this is not something peculiar to the MDC. If you go to ZCT, they even have four vice presidents. But this is a non-political organization. You go to social democratic parties in the Scandinavian countries, in Europe, they also have several vice or deputy presidents, depending on the structure that is effective for an organization. Ours is working on 3, but we want to zero in on 1, and we'll then be testing our own structures. At the end of the day, we want to deepen our democracy. We want to make our organization more efficient, more dynamic in terms of delivering the goal. So there's no sudden discovery or a eureka moment. It's just to make sure that our organization is is fine-tuned.
You mentioned that the country is in crisis, there is shortage of everything. What is the way forward? Are there any plans for demonstration? Stay away?
Well, I'm also sure if you are convinced that the demonstration is the way forward. But for us, the way forward is to have the resolution of the fundamental questions affecting Zimbabwe. But how do we resolve those issues? We resolve those issues by making sure that there's a resolution of what the cause of the problem is. What is the nature of the crisis in this country? Some have said it's an economic crisis. No. The economic crisis is just a mirror image of the actual crisis. The actual crisis is a legitimate crisis. It is a disputed mandate, disputed election, disunity and discohesion in the country, lack of trust, lack of confidence in the political processes arising out of the July election that was disputed. So we need to resolve that dispute. How do we resolve the dispute? There has to be a political dialogue. And that political dialogue, if it is not there, we have to force Comrade Mnangagwa to appreciate that there has to be meeting of the minds. We don't want, violence in this country. We don't want anarchy and chaos in this country. We want peace. But peace is only a product of people realizing the mutual desirability of this political dialogue so that we're able to resolve fundamental issues around reforms, economically, politically. But that has to be done in the context of scaffolding and underwriting by the international community. And this is why we must applaud the statements from South Africa, by the ambassador of South Africa, and also former President Mbeki, to say that the resolution of the crisis in Zimbabwe goes beyond the Constitutional Court. This is a political problem. It must have political answers. And we are the political players. So it takes two to tango. Let there be no mistake in the minds of those who are in cloud cuckoo that the solution to the problem of Zimbabwe is going to be located outside the MDC and ZANU-PF having a dialogue. That is just imagination, a figment of imagination by people who don't know what they're talking about. Let there be unity of the mind, sharing of the vision, sharing of what the issues are, so that we're able to move forward the country. It's so embarrassing that we have our army not having their salaries in real terms, in currencies that are strong. We have our police officers struggling. You have seen pictures of our police officers showing that they are miserable. It demeans the honor of a country. Because soldiers, police, CIO, state institutions are a reflection of the integrity and honor of a country. When you put on that uniform, it's not an individual, it's a national badge that must be honored through a decent life. So we are all about decent lives for our government employees, our civil servants. We have to earn a decent salary. We also want to see a happy life for Zimbabweans, students, teachers, nurses, doctors, and that can only be a creature of resolving the political issue. And that's where we are. And that's why we have said to Mr. Mnangagwa, we are ready to engage you, not out of any need for power, but out of need to resolve the issue, because we see what the issue is. This is why we're even engaging him before, because we could see this coming. We knew that they were going to play their tomfoolery and chicanery to rig the election, and would have this kind of a crisis. Because when you rig elections, there's always the economy to report you. You can't rig it. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Mr. President. Another question? Yes.
Mr. President, what is the party position in as far as appointing people who did not serve in the party previously to senior party positions? Also, another question, as the alternative government, and I'll be specific here, what is your alternative solution to the cash crisis? Cash crisis, not political crisis.
I don't know why you are trying to limit me to the cash crisis. I'm not here to be limited. The cash crisis is the political crisis. So you must understand that you cannot resolve this so-called cash crisis without resolving the fundamental governance issues. And politics is the issue. President Bill Clinton once said the economy is stupid. In our situation, it is the politics stupid. What does it mean? Let's resolve politics so that we're able to unlock the economy. We have said it over and over again. In order for you to resolve the cash crisis, you need confidence and trust. Look at our trust deficit. Cameroon, Sudan, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria are on the list of the World Bank in terms of countries that are the highest political risk. We must eliminate that risk and then begin to have a currency that is stable. And we've said, instead of just having a basket of currencies, let's have an anchor currency that is based on a US dollar for now, and then move progressively to then deal with other issues. You can't have this fake currency and you want to report false surpluses, which are in real terms not there. So we need to obviously deal with that issue. If we're the government who would introduce the US dollar, I know the question is, where would you get the US dollar? The US dollar is here in the country. Nobody is going to put their money in a hole. And the government is the biggest hole. So they don't want to invest in banks because they know there's no confidence. Once you resolve that, if you go and raid houses, particularly in those other sectors, you will have the Bank of Scotland, the Bank of India, the Bank of, all sorts of currencies. But people will never deposit them in the banking system because there's no confidence. So that has to be sorted out. In terms of deployment, yes, we're at large to recruit any member we want to recruit. The national council is the supreme decision-making body. So there's nothing that stops us. If we see talent, we always attract talent. So yes, we've attracted some talent, and we are happy. And we'll continue to attract any talent. We don't grow by feeding from our own yard. We grow by making sure that we fish from the other rivers. And the other rivers are ZANU-PF. That's why we have some breams, And we will continue to fish in those rivers. Because we are attractive. So yes, we will continue to do that. We want to see more. We know that ZANU-PF has been chasing away people. We want them to come to the party. We chlorinate them so that they are fit for purpose. And then we move on. We don't just take people because some of them are contaminated, in terms of their politics. Thank you.
Anyone still with a burning question? Yes, yeah. Very last question. Yes.
Mr. President, I heard you saying you shall force Mr. Mnangagwa to come for a dialogue. My own analysis, Mr. Mnangagwa is not an easy person to push to the corner. What force shall you imply?
I think your analysis is false. He said he's a soft as wool.
I'm saying he's not a soft person to push to the corner.
But I'm saying he said he's a soft as wool. So we'll count on that softness. And he will come to the negotiating table. I mean, you know, Mugabe used to say people sitting under a tree cannot force me to write a constitution. But he ended up writing the constitution. Politicians have a tendency of saying, words that they don't even believe. And we are not that type of politicians. Those are the politicians who want to make sure that we bring to the negotiating table so that they understand. Is it the best interest of Mr. Mnangagwa for this country to be stable? What does he want to leave as a legacy for the people, for the coming generation? That he had to drive the country into a dungeon through being stubborn and intransigent. That's why we are asking for the breeze of wisdom to blow across his face and visit his mind. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, members of the 40 states. I think next time we'll be able to give you that receipt to the president's board.